Hi, everyone. Welcome to CBS News Prime Time. I'm Jeff Glor, in for John Dickerson. President Biden addressed major global conflicts during his Oval Office speech Thursday night. The president said ensuring Israel and Ukraine succeed is vital for America's security and called on Congress to approve an aid package, a big aid package. President Biden also called out Hamas and Russia for wanting to, quote, annihilate democracy.
Making sure Israel and Ukraine succeed is vital for America's national security. You know, history has taught us that when terrorists don't pay a price for their terror, when dictators don't pay a price for their aggression, they cause more chaos and death and more destruction. They keep going, and the cost and the threats to America and the world keep rising.
Let's bring in CBS News senior White House and political correspondent Ed O'Keefe. Ed, Israel and the Hamas war is front and center right now, but the president spent just as much time talking about Ukraine, if not more, and even compared Putin to Hamas in this speech.
Yeah, that was a pretty notable and somewhat effective, potentially effective, but certainly to this reporter's ear, effective way of sort of summarizing for skeptics or for those that maybe haven't been paying as much attention, sort of what's up here. And that is that there are two entities, one a country, the other a terrorist organization, that are trying to upend neighboring democracies. And this is a president who, since he was a candidate and certainly since he became president, has suggested that there's an ongoing global struggle between democracies and autocratic rulers or organizations that are trying to upend what has been the traditional world order. So what better way to describe it tonight than say these are two conflicts that the United States needs to be engaged in by supporting the democratically elected leaders of those two countries that are under threat. And it was a reminder, too, you're right, that after almost 2 weeks of sustained coverage and attention on the Middle East, he's reminding Americans and speaking about it in ways that he hasn't necessarily to the entire country in such an organized way, why the Ukraine conflict is so important, why it is costing tens of billions of taxpayer dollars, and why it needs to continue to spend that kind of money lest U.S. troops be drawn in and there be American bloodshed. So we'll see in the coming days if it sticks. But, you know, new CBS News polling tonight, for example, suggests that most Americans aren't pleased with how he's been handling this so far. There's been skepticism and criticism of how he's explained, at least, the reason to engage in Ukraine. So the White House clearly tonight hoping that this kind of an address, the more traditional Oval Office speech that, you know, connotes a more grave situation, a more serious one, will hopefully be absorbed by Americans and support for what he's asking for will grow.
It's also Ukraine something he can speak unequivocally on, is that we support Ukraine in this war. Yes, the U.S. stands by Israel, but he does have to walk that line of supporting Israel, but also the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. And to that effect, he talked about the Palestinian boy who was killed in Chicago.
Yeah, there's a growing concern across the administration and certainly among Democrats that we could, because of this, see a revival of what he described as Islamophobia or anti-Muslim behavior and rhetoric and activity that we haven't seen really since the post-9/11 and Iraq war eras. And so don't be surprised if in the coming days you hear him speak about it more, you see the administration try to do more to draw concern to that. And look, I mean, the fate of that 6-year-old is a terrifying thing, no matter what his background is. And so by calling that out tonight and saying again that we don't accept that, not only sends a message here in the United States, but should reinforce, the White House would hope, around the world and certainly on the so-called Arab street, how seriously this president takes that kind of behavior and how much he abhors it.
So again, the president speaking tonight for just a little over 15 minutes, talking about both Ukraine and the war between Israel and Hamas. We have to take a quick break here. Ed O'Keefe, thank you very much.